Good morning. It is 7:27 a.m. on Wednesday, October 28th, 2020. I'm Christiana Ellis, and I just stopped another recording 2 seconds in because uh, Rocket has occasionally taken to finding where I keep my shoes when I take them off from going outside, and just selecting one very gently and carrying it with him into the living room to chew on. Um, so far, he's not ever really done any real damage to them, but I occasionally catch him sneaking over there, and so this morning I caught him doing that just literally like right as I had started the recording. So I decided to start it over. He is a sweet little dog. So last night, for so many levels, we played a game called Wanderhome, and it was lovely. Now, one of the things about Wanderhome that distinguishes it from something like Dungeons and Dragons is that it is almost like part of the whole premise of it is that it's sort of very gentle and sweet, and it has certain sort of basic setting features that it uses to establish tone. So, like in particular, when it talks about like what is the like the land of Haeth. The yeah, Haeth is the default setting in the place, but it is populated by animal people. Yeah, so like the Haith is beautiful and boundless land full of life and soul. It's all of the people are animal people. The what we would normally, the roles we would normally in our world fill with animals are used. Bugs are used for that instead. So you might have a shepherd might have a herd of chubby bumblebees. You might have a pet cricket and stuff like that, and that it has a widespread culture of hospitality. The people we meet will be fundamentally good. There might be people in the world who are not fundamentally be good, but those people are far away, and the people that we will meet on this journey are fundamentally good, and that this land was recently caught in war, but is no longer. There is no violence here anymore. So, obviously, different than Dungeons and Dragons tends to be, right? But when I saw this game on a Kickstarter, it just really struck me how full of sort of like life and flavor a lot of the setting material and in particular the character playbooks are, because they have, for example, one character playbook is a moth tender, and the description says carrier moths travel across the Haith, bringing newsletters in tiny boxes. You wander the land, keeping an eye on these moths and their towers. You are alive. Your care is consistent, prompt, and in small packages. And all of them say you are alive. I'm suddenly thinking now that I've already talked about this game on 5 More Minutes before. I maybe have. So maybe instead of talking about the game in general, we'll just talk about last night when we played it. And it was a lot of fun. I think everyone was a little bit uncertain going in just because it was a new and unfamiliar game. We weren't necessarily sure how to play it, but we picked it up relatively quickly, I think, and had a delightful little encounter where our wanderers came across an elaborate garden that grew. It was owned and worked by bunny people who grew giant multicolored carrots and strawberries and kept crickets and beetles in little hutches. And they were, just sort of very, friendly. But we had an encounter with the biggest danger in the whole session was that there was a gigantic dung beetle that we had one character was playing a ragamuffin, so kind of like a rambunctious little kid who managed to accidentally agitate this gigantic dung beetle to the point where it was, you know, wandering through the fields and kind of trampling some of the crops, and we had to stop it. You know, had to, and then fix the damage, and that was the to the full extent of it. So like this dung beetle was not a monster that had to be slayed. It was no, it was just it was a you know livestock that needed to be calmed and taken back to where it's supposed to be. And it was very gentle and sweet and lovely, and we had a good time. So, yeah, I feel pretty good about choosing that. It was not something that we would probably substitute completely for Dungeons and Dragons because sometimes the action and the combat is fun, but as a change of pace, it was delightful. So I'm going to leave it there. I have to get to work, and I'll talk to you all tomorrow for 5 more minutes.